Good morning. It's the pollinator. Boy, things are getting exciting in this country, USA. Anyway, um, the title of this vid is called Dating. But it's going to be a controversial type of video about dating. And you'll have to excuse me if I rub my eyes for about 2 or 3 months now. Well, I just found out last week that I have cysts in both of my eyes. And I have a condition known as dry eyes, extreme dry eyes. And what's weird about that is that my eyes water a lot, so it's a contradiction in terms. A dry eye creates your eyes watering a lot. So I'm rubbing my eyes. I'm supposed to be doing something about it, and I'm getting some medication sent to me in the mail through the VA because I did see an eye doctor. They're bothering me so much. So from time to time, I will be rubbing my eyes. At any rate, I watched a live feed and a YouTube video from a man who told everybody why he would not date a white woman. And he gave, his story about that. And, I wish there was light. The furthest light on my left is way over on the other side of the room. So, I look like I'm dark on this side. I'm light on this. Anyway, what was I talking? Oh, okay. So he told his story about why he would not date a white woman, and his reasons were, real different because not only is he a cisgender black man, which means he identifies as the gender he was born as, which was male. Cisgenders identify with the gender they were born at, is on their birth certificate. I know a lot of people would like to think that this cisgender, transgender thing is all about your genitals. But to those that are watching, I would just invite you to educate yourselves because it couldn't be further than the truth that who we are is defined by our genitals. No, we're not. So anyway, let me get back to this topic of dating a white woman. I used to. I was not discriminate about who I dated when I was younger. And up into my mid-40s. I was just attracted to women, females. And so I didn't really care. Well, I did care. And so let me tell you a little bit about why I cared, the way that I cared, and when. And then as I've evolved as a transgender man, all of a sudden the black man in me woke up. But I had already woken up to the fact that I would not date white women. So let me tell you why. In my early 20s, I was lived with a Jewish woman for 5 years. And at that time, I did not believe in marriage, same-sex marriage. I thought I was lesbian. I didn't have any other information other than to believe that at the time. It was the 1970s, latter 1970s, early 1980s. And so I didn't believe in marriage at the time, and so and I was a downright hoe in that relationship. Okay, I was a dog. Um, I had because of earlier influences that I'm not going to get into. Um, I we were in an open relationship. Okay, we would track down women together. We would bring them home. We would sleep with them. But we were in constant communication about these ladies because we didn't want us tearing us apart, which is, being the man that I was, I could detach from my emotions from sex. Okay, I loved her, but I never loved any of the women that we were involved with. I could completely separate myself from that. So anyway, I was with that lady until I got clean and sober in 1983, and nothing out of the usual happened during that relationship. And I mean, other than racial things that happened directly to me when she wasn't around would happen. And then when I came home, I would talk to her about the things that had happened to me that day. Regardless of what it was, where it was. I was in the Bay Area in California at the time. So, black people are very spread out there. Here I go with my eyes. Anyway, so I lost that relationship, and it was very painful because she was my best friend. She was I'd never been in a relationship with someone where we were best friends. And it happened just as quickly as the sexual part of our relationship. So it isn't always the truth that, you're friends with somebody for a long period of time and then you get involved with them and remain best friends. That's not my experience anyway. I have been in relationship with people that were my friend first and then got involved with them later, and it still didn't work out. And I've been involved with ladies who we had sexual relations very early on in the relationship, and became best friends. But I blew that relationship to smithereens because I was so young and naive, and I really didn't know. Well, I literally kind of like chased her away. I pushed her into the arms of another woman because I was too busy getting high and partying and, having sex with various women. Whether she was around or not, I was doing that. And I kept telling her, why don't you go do it too? And maybe it was I don't know if it was a sense of guilt, because I'm really not the type of person to get hung up on guilt. But to make it more okay for me to do what I was doing, I wanted her to be free to do it too. And we also had some issues. She had an issue that I don't want to talk about, but she had an issue that made me question whether or not I was satisfying her. But I didn't know about that in the relationship. All I knew was I kept running around validating the fact that it wasn't me. And that's what kids, that's what kids do. I mean, we're trying to figure out who we are, and what we're about, or whatever, and it has very, very bizarre ways of showing up sometimes. And in my case, that's how it showed up, was for me to validate myself that I wasn't the cause of any kind of sexual dysfunction that was going on in the relationship. I did so with other women. So let's skip ahead. Then I got, when I got clean and sober, I got involved with his Hispanic woman. And that relationship, it lasted a while, but it didn't, you know, we broke up for various reasons. And then somewhere in my 30s, I got involved with another lady, and a white lady. And it was very, okay, I just told a story. I wrote a story on Facebook yesterday about where I was and what I was doing during the Rodney King beatings in 1991 and the subsequent trial of the white officers, pigs, in 1992. And I was very emotional, not emotional, I was pissed, I was angry, and I wrote a post explaining how that was for me. And at the time, I was with this white woman. And when he got beaten, when Rodney King got beaten, I went home and I talked to her about that. And I was very angry and I was very upset, but I was not really in touch with the anger that I felt until the day those guys got acquitted. That day, I was at work. It was a Wednesday. I came home, I turned on the TV, and I saw what happened to those white pigs. How they got off for doing that to him. And then all of the rioting started in Los Angeles. And, all the rioting, the looting, the violence, everything that happened around that trial, and how we as black people felt about it was all over the TV. And I was fuming. I was so angry. I do not remember what I said to her. I don't remember at all what I said to her. But she got very quiet. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, what's she being so quiet for? But see, I was so wrapped up, I was so in my feelings about it, that I noticed that and then just kept on fuming. But I had to go to work the next day, so I had to calm down somewhat, so that I felt like going to work. Because that Wednesday night that those guys got off, I hated every white person on the planet. See, it did, and including her, including my girlfriend. Because see, and I didn't hate her, okay? What I hated were all of the years of my life until that point in time where I'd experienced discrimination, oppression, brutality, just a lot of things I had experienced up until that point in time that just manifested themselves in my emotions and just sat there like a rock. And I hated all white people. Oh, one very important fact, that at the time, I started reading Malcolm X's book before the trial. And I think it was something that just showed up on the TV before, while the trial was going on, or something of that nature. And I ran out and bought his book. Because to that point in time, I looked at him like a lot of black people looked at him and thought he was a militant and thought he was anti-white, and I thought he was about violence. I thought he was about a lot of things that scared me about America. The last thing on earth I ever wanted to experience, although I have in my life since that time, was violence against me by white people. So Malcolm X, you know, I was looking at Martin Luther King Jr. during the 1960s, and a lot of black people could resonate with him more than they could the Muslim brother Malcolm X, because he was radical. Okay, he was radical until he went to, I'm sorry if I don't remember the country that he went to, but he went to another country, met a whole bunch of other people, and when he came back to the United States, he completely changed his attitudes about Muslims, because he went to the Nation of Islam and he found out that people were just people. Okay, so anyway, I was reading his book when the acquittal happened, and I hadn't gotten to the part where he went to the Nation of Islam in wherever that was, Jerusalem. I don't know where it was right at the moment, but so I was fuming. I remember halfway through that book thinking, oh my God, we need our own country. And if we can't, and then I thought about that, and I thought, all the countries are taken up. Ain't nobody gonna let us in their country en masse to control that country. There's not even one country in Africa that is totally controlled by black people. And the only ones that I know of that are so freaking corrupt that they ain't doing their citizens any favor. They have somehow gotten not westernized culture, but something is going on with black people where when we do get some power and control, we ain't helping each other with it. We use each other with it. At least in Nigeria, as far as I know right now, because I taught and dated or whatever a woman that was from Nigeria for over 4 years. So I got intricate details about how that country treats citizens who don't have a college degree and don't have money. Like shit. Anyway, so I was with this lady, and the next day I went to work, and I was absolutely crazy, insane angry about the acquittal, and about the way the media portrayed what was going on in Los Angeles. See, they didn't talk to anybody about why they were so angry. They just kept running around with the fucking camera showing what they were doing as a result of those pigs getting away with gang beating Rodney King. It touched every one of us. Unlike white people, we walk around every day with the fear that that could be us. That can be me. How many of you really think the white police, the KKK that's running around in the police departments all across this country will gang beat you like that? See, that won't happen to you. And a lot of other things won't happen to you that happen to us. So that day, that Thursday, after everybody at work was afraid and had dispersed away from me because I went off on people who were talking about it in a judgmental way, in a matter-of-factly way of what the black people were doing in Los Angeles that day. I went completely off on it, on everybody. I was the only black person in that entire fucking building. It was a 4-story building full of people, And I was the only black person in that building. So I don't even think I could work the rest of that day. I was so mad because I was blowing people up in the hallways and out on the smoking deck. And I went home, and I don't remember if I was crying, but I remember I had so much anger because of that and what I was reading in Malcolm X's book, that I went home just splitting mad, screaming to my girlfriend at first. My white, blonde hair, blue-eyed girlfriend. And again, she got very quiet. Now, this wasn't what I expected her to feel. I wanted her to feel what I felt. I wanted her to feel something that she'll never feel. White people in this country will never feel. Not this country, maybe other countries, but I ain't tripping about other countries right now because our backyard is all fucked up. So I stopped and I looked at her and I said, why are you looking that way? And I was mad. I was like, why are you shrinking from me? Why do you seem like you're not upset about what happened and what's going on? And she said to me, well, I feel guilty. And I feel ashamed to be white. And I don't know what to do for you. I feel bad. And as she was saying this, I was getting madder and madder at her. I was like, guilt? The fuck is your guilt gonna do for me and how I'm feeling right now? I feel like killing you and everybody else like you. You really gonna sit here and tell me that you feel guilt and that your feelings are gonna trump mine right now? Trump as in a pun, Trump. I said, that's perfect. Perfect, okay? You have no fucking idea how I feel. And I said, you gonna feel guilty and shrink from me, not give me a hug, not do something other than sitting there looking at me like I'm crazy. Get away from me. And I know we didn't end up sleeping in the bed together that night. I couldn't stand the sight of her. Now, I wanted her to do something that she absolutely couldn't do because she was a white woman and had never experienced any oppression. Not any. Okay? But I wanted her to feel the pain that I was feeling. I wanted her to come off in a way she couldn't come off. And because she couldn't, she became one of them in my head. Instead of my girlfriend, she became one of them. And it was like, oh no, you need to get away from me like the people at my job did. Get the fuck away from me. So I don't remember how long it took for me to calm down enough. And we never talked about that again. I called black people I knew to talk about it because they understood. They didn't shrink. They didn't have anything to feel guilty about. They didn't do anything except be black. So anyway, okay, so let me go on and then I'll go back. So for reasons that had nothing to do with her race, we did not work out. It was completely different other reasons. And my mother just loved her. Oh my God, they was like best buds. Um, I mean, I didn't hold it against her that she happened to be born white. And I got over the way that I felt about the everything that had happened to Rodney King and the year-long trial, or was it a year? I don't remember, but so we broke up, and from that point forward, I didn't think I would ever date another white woman, and I didn't. I dated black women only, and it was partially because of that experience that I had with her and that relationship that something began to change and shift for me. That, you know what, we can be together, but we're not going to be able to relate on a level that I'm going to need, that I need to relate to a woman with, to relate to my best friend with. You know, because as I got older, I also changed. I was changing a lot because I was doing a lot of personal work on myself. So I was changing by leaps and bounds. And it began to occur to me that well, I don't think I can be with a white girl, because not long term anyway. Because she can't relate to me on some levels that I need her to relate to. And I can understand the white experience way better than she could understand the black experience, because I later in life start to get contracts in the United States just by talking white and over the phone. They didn't know I was black until I showed up to the contract. So I, you know, I can relate to being privileged and to being white, because I grew up privileged and I grew up around white people. So I could speak their language. And there were a lot of times, because of the privileges that I had, that I could live semi without my skin color. I mean, it showed up everywhere, but I was too young to really understand what was going on, and I just knew there were things that happened that did make me feel bad about being black, but I didn't let them stop me from doing the best that I could to enjoy the privileges that I had as a black person. So it happens that there's a lot of black people that hold that against me, how I was raised, but that's for another video. Anyway, so I did mess around with a white girl again in my 40s, just briefly, because, you know, I found her attractive and sexy, and she was German. She spoke 3-4 different languages, but she was a really messed up person, so I hurried up and got away from her. Well, I'm not going to tell you the circumstances around me meeting that lady, but and she turned on me like this white girl was the devil. Her and the chump would have got along great. But she was also, I think, had a mental illness. But at any rate, but after her, in my 40s, I decided no more. No more white women. I didn't put it out of my mind to date other people of color, but I never came across one again that I was interested in that way. So I was just dating black women, and black women only. Then sometime last year, I've had many transitions in my life. Transitioning from female to male is not the only transition you go through in life. That's why it trips me out why people are so freaked out about us, as though our transition is somehow nastier or more immoral than any other kind of transition you go through in life, when it's not. Human beings do that shit. We have, the only constant in life is change. The only constant in life is change as we grow older, because nobody is immortal, and so we're all going to die, which is also something that we all have in common. But so sometime last year, a thought crossed my mind, and I was already involved with a lady, a black woman who, I don't even want to talk about her, because she was one of those kinds of blacks that had this irrational, snotty ass attitude about how I was raised. And it didn't hit me dead between the eyes until about a week or two ago that, oh my God, this woman thinks that because of the way I was raised, that I live with a silver spoon in my mouth. No. No, I don't. I live on a fixed income. I'm struggling every month, which I'm getting ready to do something about. But fact is, it was this irrational thing of hers where she kept making little slight comments about that. That wasn't the first time she said something about me having a silver spoon in my mouth, when I don't. Don't nobody support me but me. Everything I've done in my life is how I pay everything in my life. I've gotten help a couple times, but not the kind of what she was thinking is not how I live. And I got tired of hearing that and seeing that, where that really comes from. Although she would probably never agree in 1,000 years, because she was the queen of denial. It's jealousy. Okay, anybody, and it's a disease going on in our culture. Really is. If anybody's doing better than you, it's this this thing that's going on that just is irrational, and it's helping bring us down. Instead of doing what all the other races around the world do to overcome things, we get mad at each other. One of black people's favorite pastimes is going after black celebrities, as if that's going to make their life any better, when it isn't. It's not. They're wasting their time doing it. But it is a favorite pastime, along with football and a whole bunch of other shit that we do, that we contribute to the economy of the United States of America, while the economy and the system itself is spitting and stomping on us. But anyway, so skip over that woman, skip over everything else. I decided that as a black man, I don't feel obligated, but I feel like because of what happened during the civil rights movement, I study a lot, and I study history. And, what happened in the 60s about the civil rights movement, because of of how they dismantled the Black Panther Party and how they dismantled us as a people by killing Dr. Martin Luther King, and by killing Malcolm X, and by killing the Kennedys. it took the wind out of our sails. And then feminism came along and literally took the black woman out of the black man's lives and took the black man out of the black woman's lives. And society gave a hand up to black women as long as they got rid of black men. It's what welfare was about, people. Black women couldn't get on welfare unless the black man wasn't living in the house. Did you know that? Bet you didn't know that. It's true. And then black women decided to fight feminism. Fight on the side of feminism, which was the white woman's fight. They're the ones that started that. It wasn't black woman's fight. Okay? But a whole bunch of them jumped on that bandwagon along with, I'm sorry, my phone is tripping. Along with a shitload of lesbians. So you had white cisgender women and white lesbians band together, pushing feminism, and maybe all the black women looked at that and said, ooh, here's a way that we can experience a little privilege around this stupid-ass country. So I don't even blame them for that. This is all part of systematic oppression. They dangled carrot to black women, and of course they took that fucking carrot. Because for centuries before that, maybe not centuries, maybe I'm overstating that it was centuries, but for a long time before that, black men were conditioned, not to honor black women anyway. Get them pregnant, give them some babies, split, and do this as many times as they could define their manhood. You know how many fucking babies they had all over the place that they wasn't taking care of. So things were already screwed up, and then feminism came along and took the focus off of the civil rights movement and put it on the feminist movement and the LGBT movement. And everybody moved away from civil rights. Black men know they never got a break. They didn't get pulled away from the civil rights movement. They got buried under it. And they're still getting buried under it to this day. Okay, and so, now I'm sitting here as a black man saying, you know what? Black women, black men need each other in a way that I'm not sure it has ever happened since slavery happened. Maybe it did exist. I just haven't seen it in history enough. But so black people in general, regardless of your gender and regardless of your sexuality, need each other. And you know what? If I hadn't realized that I was a trans man and I was still believed I was a lesbian, I would have still came to the same conclusion because of what's going on here. Whether I was a lesbian or a heterosexual trans male, I still would have come to the conclusion that black people need each other regardless of gender. Why? Because bullshit that was going on back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, you know what? It ain't never stopped. It's just the media is picking up on the fact that it never stopped for black people in the United States. It never stopped. But now you got the invention of the cell phone. So now people are broadcasting and putting on social media all these incidences of atrocities and violence against black people. And you know, there's a lot of people outside of this country. Because of what I put on Facebook yesterday, I just found out someone in another country who had no idea that racism was as bad as it was in 2017, because her vision of looking at the United States is through TV and what they allow them to see in that country. And in her country, there are no black people. None. None. I told her, you know, I was laughing and I said, you remind me not to go there. Because the same thing will happen to me there. It happened to me when I went to Switzerland when I was 15 years old. And they treated me like I was an alien from another planet. But, okay, I talk about that ski trip to Switzerland in another video, so I won't tell that story again. But, so these reasons that I'm giving you about why I would never date a white woman, and I won't date a woman from a different race. I won't date outside my race anymore. Because whether you understand this or not, even if you're Asian, Hispanic, or any combination of those, as long as they're not mixed with black, or American Indian, okay? You don't experience the level of oppression that we have experienced in this country for over 400 years. I don't care what Indians say. You American Indians, you can come after me if you want to. You still have land. You may be blowing what you're doing with it, but you have land. We have nothing. You also still have your culture. We don't have that anymore. You also still have your language. We don't got that anymore either, unless we pick it up somewhere outside of the school system, because the school system in the United States really sucks when it comes to learning languages. I got stuck in French class from the 4th grade until the 9th grade, and I never learned to speak the language. It was all grammar and kind of learning how to read it. But the language classes, and I went to good schools. I went to district schools. I didn't go to public schools until the end of my high school years. But so, and in other countries, they educate their children to speak multiple languages, not just one extra language. In the United States, in my school, it was only required to take one extra class, and there wasn't any more time for any more language classes anyway, because we had to take, you know, whole full curriculum of other things, including math and history and whatnot. So, oh my goodness, another long video. I just wanted to get on here because the man that gave me this idea for this video, he knows his African heritage. And I think because his father is African. So he knows half of his heritage. And so his reasons for only dating black women are more around his African side of his culture than most black people in this country, because most of us don't know our African roots at all. I mean, we're way far removed from our roots in Africa. And most people don't, you know, because we're mixed with other races, and because we've been oppressed for so long, we can't even afford, our relatives, recent and distant, did not have time or the money or maybe even the heart or the inclination to keep passing up the information of where we came from in Africa. And after slavery, we were all mixed up anyway, because white people were fucking black women and they were making the black men fuck white women. So, you know, so we're lost as a culture. for a reason. That's what white man's doing. That's y'all's doing. That we lost our culture. And most of us don't know what tribe we come from in Africa. And there's a whole conversation around that too that I'm not going to get into because I'm not African. But I mentor and I speak to a lot of Africans. And they got their own problems too. I wouldn't want to be transgender in any of them countries. I don't even care if it's South Africa. I wouldn't want to be there. The stigma is a hell of a lot bigger than it is here. And that is one of the things that I said on Facebook was that, we stay here because we can't afford to go anywhere else en masse. And because, we're picking the better of two evils, Africa or here. We can't go back to Africa because most of us aren't from Africa. Our ancestors are from Africa. Smart aleck, racist white folks. We don't have a country to go back to. We wouldn't survive 2 fucking weeks in Africa. It's a completely different culture that we do not know. So, but I'm starting something to get to know. A worldwide organization based in the United States. And that's all I'm going to say about it right now. Because it's grassroots. Despite what some black asshole fucking trans man said about me not being involved in grassroots organizations in the Atlanta Metro. Whoop-de-fucking-do. No, I'm involved in grassroots in another way. No, I don't give resources to trans people. But I find them for them. I find resources for people all over this country. I find resources for people not in this country. I probably do more than that freaking clown has done the entire time he's been running around one particular organization sounding like a mimic for that organization. But it's another story for another day. My next video is going to be about non-binaries because I finally figured that shit out too. I figured out why I'm having an issue with them. Because they have issues with us. Men. I'm not going to talk about it right now. But anyway, next video, I'm going to talk about it. And then maybe, I don't know what's going to happen as a result of that one. It's not going to be popular either. Not any more popular than any of my videos. Which is why I don't get, thousands of views on YouTube. That is very, very complex social media site to master. I mean, you really have to be kissing somebody's fucking butt. And collaborating with other people who are like-minded and don't mind, merging purposes together. And within the black trans community, especially black trans male, what cohesion? No. They're playing a very weird game in the black trans male community. Talk about that on another day too. So, despite the fact that I was so fired up and spit mad hours ago, I'm a little bit more calmed down and decided to jump on here and make this vid real quick. Had to tear myself away from my African connections who all freaking decided to wake up at the same time and wouldn't stop at me on Facebook. So I had to tell them all I gotta go make this video. And so I left and came and done this. Dating as a black trans man, I'll only date black women, and I'm picky about which black woman I'll date. Because of what that guy said on his videos, which is women will waste your time. And can be very manipulative and very, there's a lot of things about women. I am picky. I'm not selling. I'm too old to play that game anymore. Time is of essence for me. I can't act like I did in my 20s. I don't feel like I did in my 20s. Well, physically, I feel fine. You know, I got a lot of energy, a lot of spunk that I didn't have before I got on testosterone. But still, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I am mature. I don't have time for games. And I don't have time to waste my time, because time is the only thing you can't buy. You can't get back. Once you lose it, it's gone. So I realized that this lady, this black woman, that was a hot mess on the back of the stove, when I realized that she was wasting as much time as she was wasting, and that I didn't have it to waste, and neither did she really. She's just so whatever that it didn't matter to her that she was wasting my time. So I had to cut her completely off and run her away with some very strong language. Listen, y'all have a blessed week. It's Monday morning, almost 3 o'clock in the frickin' morning, and here I am making vids because I can. I keep my own hours. I'm retired. And so, but I am busier now than I was when I had a career, which is bizarre. A lot of people say, aren't you bored? Oh, no, never bored. Not me. Like my shirt, I forget what it says. Oh, troops in the military. Anyway, so I got a lot of things coming up, and I'm going to try to make videos more often, but I'm not promising that. I see people trying to promise that, and unless they're not doing anything else in their life, it is very difficult to promise I'm going to make a video, you know, one video per week. And if you really want to get the numbers up on YouTube, you got to make multiple videos per week. I don't have that kind of time, given what's on my plate and what I'm up to. So, everybody have, like I said, have a blessed week, have a great week, have an awesome week, have a positive week. Despite what's going on in the world, try to make it a great one. I'm going to. And pollinator out.